Great. Welcome to our first community call in a little while. We took July off. Hopefully you've had a busy season at your center, and now it's August and you're still busy, and you made a little time to come and talk with this community from across the US and Canada. So we're glad you're here. If you haven't been on a community call before here with RCC, we're glad you're here. This is a community learning space for peers. We're all knowers and learners. So if you hear or see something that you want to share or that you have an opinion on, we welcome that. This is a space for all of us to kind of glean insights from each other. So I like to kind of frame it that way so that we know that this is not like a webinar where you just kind of sign in and maybe you hear something or don't, but there is room for you to contribute just as much as everyone else. And especially on this call, it's kind of structured that way. Erin and I both work at RCC. We'll be sort of co-facilitating this call, but neither of us work at a retreat center. However, you all do, or I'm assuming you all do. So this is really where you are experts in your own sort of realm, and many of you do similar work. So this is a chance to compare notes on the tools, equipment, machinery, all different kinds of items that you may be using that work or don't work, and that you want some feedback from peers. So we wanted to start with a general welcome like that in a framing, and then I wanted to give us a little bit of a centering practice. And this was a fun thing to think about. How do we do a centering practice around tools? And I thought there are so many tools that we're just kind of not conscious of, that are around us all the time, that we're using constantly to connect with our guests, to make our day smoother, to maybe connect with the earth, or they end up having a side use that actually grounds us, centers us. So I thought we might take a moment to pause and to think about where our gratitude is for maybe one tool, that one tool that you kind of fall back on without even realizing it. The one that's maybe in the closet right outside the room you're in right now, or maybe it's in your back pocket, or maybe it's in the car or the truck, or it's, you know, under the desk, but it's there all the time and you use it all the time, and it actually makes your work really smooth. What would that be? What does it feel like if it's something that you hold? Or what is the impact that it has? If it's something that you maybe don't even look at, it's kind of a quiet support. And just holding some gratitude for that tool. I thought that would be a fun way for us to introduce ourselves, as well as to either say that out loud, what that tool is, or maybe why you're grateful for it, or put it in the chat. So if one has come to mind and you can feel that gratitude for its support in your work, feel free to pipe in. What is it?
I'll start. I was kind of facetiously going to say a pen because one is always sitting right here, but thinking actual kind of more toolbox tool or outdoor tool. One of those screwdrivers that has the handle with the different Phillips head and regular head is always in my desk, and it gets borrowed regularly, or I use it regularly, or sometimes for actual screws, sometimes to jimmy something open, or the end's been used as a hammer. It's pretty turned into a multi-tool, but it's always right here.
I like to say a notepad. So I know with technology today, a lot of times people are taking notes on laptops or on their smartphones. But I know that if I write something down, I'll almost always remember it. And I've been that way ever since elementary school. So definitely a good notepad.
I'm going to say the broom, just because I used to go and use a blower to blow off the whatever was on the porch or on the porch at the cabins. And I realized I'm missing so much a contemplative process of just going out there and using the broom. And also then you realize what you're sweeping away. So scads of insects sometimes. And anyway, it's just kind of a grounding and a contemplative process now for me.
Honestly, I'm going to say the registration form software that I'm using, because it is not the one. I have a complicated relationship with the technology that we're using for our CRM, and that's actually why I'm here, because I'm curious what other people are using. But when we have groups that are using for like weddings and special events and stuff, I've held on to the death to the one that we support our guests with on the outside to that registration form. And it's the longest tech tool that I've ever used. And I am grateful to it for its flexibility and the customer service that it provides. And I think of all the people that I don't know that are on the other side of it, that think of all the creative ways that they help me support other people. And I, on a regular basis, feel gratitude for them, because they help me make other people's days better and less complicated. And I am grateful for them.
So I'm going to say that the tool is the tape measure. The other one that I had for about, I don't know, 100 years, which was much thinner than this one, broke in half the other day while I was trying to measure a window for new blinds. So this is a brand new tape measure, and I'm so excited about using it for the first time. Do people ever tell you that you need to get a life when stuff like this is what excites you?
Would love to hear a couple more if folks have them. Otherwise, feel free to pop them in the chat if there's a tool that you're grateful for that comes to mind.
Well, since we're talking today about software and hardware and equipment, I automatically went to Wi-Fi. I am grateful for the connectedness that we all have to be able to connect across great distances very quickly and efficiently.
I'll chime in about a tool that I'm grateful for because it makes my job easier, but then sometimes it feels like a tether and I don't know how grateful I am for it, but it is my phone, because there's so much, I can, we have a software that integrates with our business numbers, so I can get, connect with that. And then also accessing all of the documents we need and interacting with guests through that. So it's definitely a very important tool. But then sometimes I'm not so grateful for it because it feels like too much. So it was hard for me to answer that question. That's why I was reserving myself to answer it.
I'll jump in too with one. I hate to think of people as tools, but in a way we sort of are. And so I am always very grateful for really strong partners in a weekend and a retreat, and people who are open-minded and willing to grow and test boundaries and try new things. And if you have an idea, they are right there with you, or if they have an idea, you're right there with them. So I'm always grateful for really quality people who are looking to put on a great retreat, whatever that looks like and whatever that means for the people who attend them.
Yes, hopefully we are all so lucky to have strong partners on our team who will support us, whether they be a tape measure that we're really excited about. And Joanne, don't let them say that you don't have a life. That is, gratitude is just so key to everything. So being grateful for all of those partners of various shapes and sizes. I want to move into kind of what we're going to be talking about throughout the call and how I've structured it, or how we've structured it. Erin and I together thought through this quite a bit. We thought we might start with I'll kind of give you an overview, a Zoom poll where we can see where the interest lies, what kind of tools we want to make sure we talk about, and then go into some sort of recommendations and reviews, almost like you're the taste tester who's been to the restaurants, and you're going to hand out the Michelin stars. So you're going to say, this one is a 5-star. It's amazing. I've been using it for 20 years. It really has very few kinks. Or you might say, I've tried it a few times. I'm not sure, and I'd love to hear other people's reviews. So we want to go through that kind of a conversation on whatever is kind of key to your needs for today. And then we also want to make sure that we have those really important conversations covered. So if there are only a few people who want to talk about a specific type of tool, maybe there's 3 people who really want to talk about registration software. Other folks are like, been there, done that. We're not changing. We're going to stick with what we have. We can set up a breakout room. So I'm happy to kind of make it easy for the folks who really want to go deep on one topic, and we can get you set up to do that for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever you need. So that's going to be kind of the overall flow. The other thing that I want to make sure that we talk about during this call today, August 8th, is that the RCC community survey just launched last week, and we've just sent out a reminder email to everyone now with the link in it. So this is something that anyone at your center can fill out for your center. We just want one response per center, but it's another kind of tool. It's a tool for RCC, obviously, because we get to learn about all the centers in our community, but it's also a tool for you all to have the data to know what you're a part of and to know how you compare, how your center compares to a whole field of centers across the country, to other centers who maybe share your region or share your religious identity or share your kind of focus audience. So there are lots of ways that we can use this data down the road. We want to make sure that you know that the survey is live and that someone at your center can take it to represent your center and the work that you're doing. So, Erin, can you, or maybe you already have, yes, the link is in the chat. See, look at those strong teammates supporting you. Thank you for that. Make sure that you get a chance to take a look at that at some point today. The other piece that I think is important as we go into this is knowing where our centers are and kind of our roles in them. So if you want to put an intro in the chat about your role or where your center is located, we welcome that. That's something that we can all look back on to say, oh, who was the person who came in from such and such a place? It's helpful for us to have a record for that. Scott, appreciate the question in the chat. It's 15 to 20 minutes. Our testers both clocked in at 17 minutes for the survey. So welcome, lots of conversation in the chat throughout. That's a great way to participate. I'm going to launch the Zoom poll, and there are 2 questions here. The first question is, what would you like to discuss at some point, whether in today's conversation or on another community call in the future? And then the second question is, what do you really want to make sure we cover today? So the first one's multiple choice. Second one is you just get one option. So pick your favorite. So the first one's a wish list. Check as many as you like. Second one is, what is top of your list today? Leave it up for another 20 seconds here. And I think that's it. All right. Here is, I think, the results. Can you see them? No. Now can you see them? Yes. So external facing software has a strong lead. Internal facing software also important. And it looks like all of them would be things we could discuss at some point. Yeah, okay. I could say all this verbally for the folks who are going to be watching the video later. Our sections were cleaning, furnishing, groundskeeping, maintenance, hardware, internal facing software, and external facing software. All of them we're interested in discussing at some point, but for today, we've got 2 interested in cleaning, 3 interested in groundskeeping, 1 interested in maintenance, 3 for hardware, 8 for internal facing software, and 18 for external facing software. So let's make sure we allot enough time for that. I'm going to stop sharing here. If Erin, you've got some screenshots of that. Okay, sweet. And I'm gonna just close that. Well, I'll move it off. We might reference that a few more times here during our conversation. Maybe we'll start there, give ourselves about 20 minutes to see what all is in the field around external facing software. That may encompass quite a bit of different things, or it may be just a few specific needs that we're all sharing that we really want to discuss. So I want to check that out. But I also want to remind us of this recommendations and reviews kind of model of using maybe a 5-star language. So if there's a tool that you like, but it's giving you some hiccups, make sure that that's clear to other folks, and maybe using stars could be a way to describe that so that we all know kind of where we're standing. I've talked a lot. It's a community call. I'm going to back up a little bit and let folks chime in with what's on your mind around external facing software. What do you need? What are you using that you really like?
I'll share. My name is Eve, and I'm from Elohe Center in North Georgia. And we've been using Retreat Guru for our registration and booking software since 2015. And I'm not sure exactly when they started, but I think it was kind of around then. And so they've been growing, and we've started off with, we've been doing a monthly rate with them that they haven't changed since we've been using them. So we've been very happy with them. I would say, 4.5 stars. There are some functions that they don't have that we need, so we use Google Drive. We actually depend a lot on Google Drive for a lot of our functions. But as far as the Retreat Guru goes, at the money that we were paying for the monthly subscription, it was working for us. But we just recently got a call from their sales team saying that over the years they've been growing and they've been adding in more functions. We've been communicating with them about the functions since, over time, and a lot of the functions we don't need and we don't, have to use. But now they're coming back and wanting to start charging exponentially higher, like 10 times higher per month than what we've been paying. So I'm very curious to see if anyone else has experience with Retreat Guru, if you're having the same experience as we are. And we're kind of at 10 times higher is a huge, it's like $10,000 more per year to pay for our booking software. And so we're looking into other options because we don't need I understand that they need to raise their prices, and we were expecting that. We weren't expecting it this high of a raise. So we're looking into other booking softwares, and even looking into kind of is it worth hiring a consultant to do a specialized booking software for us. So I'm very interested in anybody's comments on that.
So we currently use Retreat Guru. So I've been at Cran Lathe, we're outside of Philadelphia. I've been here for just about 3 years. And when I came on, it was my job to find a software that we were going to use. And it took us about, myself and a couple other staff members, we looked for about 4 to 6 months with different online demos and going back and forth with pricing. And we did go with Retreat Guru. So we just renewed, so we pay yearly, and we just renewed for our second year. So there was a little bit of an increase, but it was, if I remember correctly, it was maybe a couple $100s. It wasn't anything that was thousands, but Eve, it also sounds like you were at a way lower cost to begin with. So one of the other ones, I'm actually just looking back at my email. So one of the other ones that we were looking at, and this was in 2020, was Retreat Manager, which seemed excellent. It was a little too basic for us at that point. They hadn't started using like a cloud-based service or anything like that. But I think if we had to switch off of Retreat Guru, I probably would look back into Retreat Manager, because I'm assuming since that was almost 3 years ago at this point, that they probably have done some decent upgrades. But yeah, the one thing I do like about Retreat Guru is they are constantly updating things with adding more things. But there's definitely some things that we don't use their marketplace at all. Like, I don't know if Eve, if you use that, we don't use it at all. So,
We don't either. No.
So, but yeah, we like Retreat Guru. I found that their staff are really quick to respond to any problems that we have. We haven't had any issues. We get donations through registrations and everything. So we've found pretty much success with using it.
Yeah, I like them a lot too, and they're very responsive. I've been very happy with them, and I'm happy to pay more. I was just shocked about how much more,
We actually just did a demo with Retreat Guru here at Prairie Woods, and their pricing is actually less than what we're paying with Retreat Manager, pretty substantially. And so I think maybe, like Elizabeth said, Eve, you might have come in really, really early on. But as far as Retreat Manager goes, and Andy can absolutely speak to this, because she's used it for so long, but the reporting functionality is almost non-existent.
in Retreat Manager or Retreat Guru?
Retreat Manager.
Okay.
But Andy could absolutely tell you the good things about what she likes about Retreat Manager.
Yeah, I've been here 12 years, so we've been using it since before that. So we've been on Retreat Manager a long time, but like Sandy said, we're looking at Retreat Guru and considering shifting. But Retreat Manager has some highs and some lows. I'd give it a 3. I know there are others on staff who would give it a 1 star.
Yeah.
I'm so used to using it that it works for me. I'm the marketing coordinator, so I use a lot of the back end to put programs up on our website and open it up for registration, and that's been useful. They are, per your question, they do have cloud-based now that they didn't have before. So that has been an upgrade. But we're, like we said, also looking at shifting away from Retreat Manager at this point.
So I'm just going to interject because I looked it up really fast. So and I don't mind sharing this at all. So R12, and we just renewed with them going into our second year in April. And this is for our 12-month plan. So it was $5,200. So Eve, I don't know where you're coming in at that.
$5,200 at 12 months.
Yeah.
So that's what, like, I can't do math in my head.
Like 400 some a month. I think that's what
yeah.
we're looking at too. Just it's based on the size of your records.
Yeah, that's what they said. And they've been really wonderful. I mean, going to move us up to $799 a month. And we were paying $99 a month. So we probably have been getting a really good deal for a lot of years.
Oh my.
So it's nice to hear other people's experience with this, so I can kind of have a frame of reference to see, what it is. And they say it is based on your sales through it. So, and they were correct on our sales that we were having. So, all right, well, that's good to know because we've been happy with them for the most part. I wish we could use more functionality and maybe we should try, because we use Google. Do you guys use Google Drive a lot too? We use Google Drive a lot for things and reports, and then of course the accounting software, QuickBooks, too. All those three kind of integrate together. But
So we actually, instead of Google Drive, we're a Microsoft community. And hi, Eve, I'm at the Kaplan Mitchell Retreat Center at Roma Jerome. So we're your neighbors up in North Georgia as well, about 20 minutes in Raven County in
oh my
Clayton,
gosh,
Georgia.
which retreat center are you with?
Kaplan Mitchell Retreat Center.
Oh, Kaplan Mitchell.
So we're a summer camp in the summer, and then we're a retreat center the rest of the year. And I'm the director of the retreat center, so the director of Not Camp. And this is my first RCC Zoom, so thank you for having me. But we're a Microsoft-based community, so we've been using Teams, and it's been, I think that, 6 of one, half a dozen of another sometimes when it comes to some of these things, but I've definitely become kind of a Teams and Microsoft kind of like a cheerleader on it, only because it's been such a great way for us to have really great teamwork, whether we're at home or working in the office. The way in which it really has that kind of like Slack meets Google Drive meets email and calendar, the way it all syncs up, plus tasks, so that if you're somebody like me who likes to have a digital to-do list and it merges with my calendar and kind of my ability to have kind of all those things wrapped into one, and then the app component of it, so that if I'm on my computer or on my phone, it kind of all syncs up. That way of being able to use all of them and then being able to share drives and organize those efficiently have just been such a game changer in terms of knowing that we have the most up-to-date files, knowing that we're sharing with the right people, right? Like our ability to, whether we're in the office or we're home or we're running around on campus, being able to do all of those things at the same time has really been a game changer. So I would say the fact that we had onboarded that in late 2019 was life-changing to be able to get through kind of the COVID days, especially the early COVID days, in a seamless way. And talk about gratitude. That was like a major one for us, feeling like we were ahead of the game there. And the fact that sometimes we're spread out and having already been using Zoom and Teams, I felt who knew that we were so tech savvy, having done all of those things in advance. So, so for those who maybe aren't as Google business, but you're already in Outlook, if you're not already in Teams, I would really encourage you maybe to explore it as we're talking about tech tools. It made us feel as a team really well organized, and a lot more cohesive. So just wanted to throw that in there.
So would that be a 5-star rating?
Yeah, I mean, they've really gotten even better, right? Like it wasn't as smooth in terms of the video capability as Zoom at the beginning. People aren't as bought into it, but they even have integration into meeting invites, into Outlook. Just the whole thing is so seamless. If you're external, right? Like even externally now, because not as many people are bought into Teams, if I'm inviting somebody to a meeting and they're not a Teams user, I still invite them with Zoom. But internally, it's all Teams all day. So maybe, Erin, if I were inviting you to a meeting, I would automatically link a Zoom. But if I know somebody's a Teams user, then it's not a question. But I think that part is still, it's like if you don't know if somebody is a Teams user, I think I'm still a little shy about it. But yeah, other than that, I would totally give it 5 stars otherwise.
Eve, I was just going to share, I'm in a similar boat with Retreat Guru right now, and I think it went like probably 5 to 6 times of a jump. So it was a little bit jarring for us. We just started using them about 2.5 years ago. I'm Andreas, by the way. I'm at Big Bear Retreat Center here in California. Hi, everyone. But yeah, what I've decided to do is just go for it for the year, and then going through the process with them of just like reviewing all the features and really just making sure, like, we really were only probably using maybe a 15th of what they do. And so really trying to take the time to like go through all of those features. It's such an investment with this software stuff. But there's a lot that's really relevant and still some that isn't still, but trying to kind of take that time to see if it's really, can we use all that stuff?
Thanks for that perspective.
Do we want to shift to maybe talking about Retreat Manager or other booking platforms, or is there another external facing software kind of topic that we want to tackle here?
I have a question about booking software. We have been using since I got here 5 years ago. I'm at Creve Hills in Canada, and I'm in Ontario. We've been using Camp Brain. It was brought in by the last director. We've sort of just been treading water with it. I hate it. Most of us hate it. And we would love to change. I guess one of my questions is, how many of you are using, like, how many of you have online booking available? Because we have both group retreats and individual suites. And we're finding that we would, like, most people would like to be able to just get online and book a suite, you know, instead of having to talk to somebody. And I would love to like lower the staff time commitment every time we just want to book one room. So I don't know if Retreat Guru does that. Are there any of you that are kind of managing both the group and individual retreats?
Maybe I'll share quickly because we're straddling. Hi, everyone. I'm Nancy from Tatamagouche Center up in North Shore of Tatamagouche, Nova Scotia, Canada. So we use Eventbrite for our public-facing learning programs. But for our hosted gatherings, we do it ourselves. We have a hosting manager, and we do that mainly through Google. And then we use Airbnb for direct, to your question, Christine, we use Airbnb for some of that direct booking. It's also kind of filling the rest of the plane type of, it's not our main, you know, but it's not our main source of revenue by a long shot. And we run into difficulty if we have too much of that revenue from, you know, with our charitable status. But I would rate Eventbrite, just to give you a sense of the fees, it's a 6.4%. And we build that into our fee structure with it, which is tiered. We have 2 barrier reduced fees and true cost, and then a generous fee. So we kind of render that transparent and hope that people will pay the true cost. And I would rate Event, when I came in 2020, we had kind of a jury-rigged self-made system that was really not integrated with our contact management database and our fundraising. And so that's something that we've been trying to integrate. And I would rate Eventbrite quite high. Our rates did go up last year. And we're keeping an eye on it, but it also, the cross marketing has been very helpful. We've, you know, Eventbrite just does that, the like similar events, it will pick you up and it will refer to others. We found that to be actually quite effective. So rating, I don't know, I would say 4 out of 5 for our learning programs and our hosted gatherings. Because of the nature of our communities, many of them are not comfortable doing online. We do, yeah, just the nature of our communities. And so for our hosted gatherings, it makes more sense for us to have some human contact there.
So I'm McAuley, and I'm from Osage Forest of Peace, and we're very small, less than 15 cabins. So we use Retreat Booking Guru, and it's worked really well for us. And so there, we've been focusing mostly like on personal overnight retreats, which I think that's you saying booking a suite. And so it's very easy to set it out there, and people can just come in and book the open dates. And also we have a link from Retreat Booking Guru that automatically updates our website. So then go to the website and then just click on the button And usually I'm just opening certain dates. So on the fields that are in Retreat Booking Guru, I can put what dates are open, and that shows up on the website. Makes it easier then for them to go in, set the dates to the open dates, and then they can just do it. So when I started doing it, I also decided that I kind of wanted to track all the income that was coming through, and we're very small, right? We closed basically for COVID, and so we're still just, you know, have been putting mission and that type of stuff together. So we're not booking everything all the time, or opening. But what I decided is that I was going to go ahead and put those hosted retreats in our systems as well, just to kind of track the dollars that are flowing through. And so I'm using that to put those dollars in and then track it. And if something changes, then we've got a record of it. And eventually, right, we could tie everything out, because our systems are not hooked, as far as QuickBooks and that are not hooked together. We have opportunities there. So I really have liked Retreat Booking Guru from what I've seen, and I would probably give it a 4.5. We have not been asked for a an increase in rate, so we've held the rate the same. And so it's good to hear what everybody else has been experienced, because then I'm thinking, okay, do I really want to put the hosted retreats in there? And do I want to list every person that's in that hosted retreat, or is it just this opening shell? So like, I'm getting into the very details of stuff, right? And then our sponsored retreats go in there as well. And of course, then people can book the sponsored retreats, because you can set it up and they can automatically book that without having to call someone. And we've, we're 40 plus years old. So we have a certain clientele that needs to talk to someone on the phone and help getting booked. And then to like focus to the younger generation that really, they just want to get it done, get in there, be out. And so I feel like Retreat Booking Guru does a really good job for us. And the price has been very reasonable at this point. So we pay $149 per month. I've even thought about like making it, and like I said, we're very small, so that may be part of it. I don't know. I've also thought about making it be our prime place for making donations. I could just set up a program and say, this is our donation, because we are using Network for Good for donation and newsletter. And to me, it's pretty pricey. So, we're paying a lot more for that than we are for Retreat Booking Guru, probably twice as much. So anyway, that's my experience.
So we use Retreat Guru for both. So we're really small too. So we actually only have 14 overnight beds, and then we have a conference building that can fit like 60 to 70 people. So we do programs and individual or directed retreats, and then we also rent out our conference space. And at this point, all of those are done on Retreat Guru. It completely integrated into our website. So if you go to our website, anything that you're doing, clicking around on there, just seamlessly, like you can't even tell that you're going from our actual website into Retreat Guru. It just seamlessly goes right into there. And then we also do collect donations through Retreat Guru as well. But we use eTapestry for all of our actual donation tracking, like thank you letters are generated there and all of that.
We have a question in chat asking if Retreat Booking Guru is different than Retreat Guru, or are they the same?
I guess they're the same, but is it because we're using different terminology that question is coming up?
Possibly.
Yeah. I asked the question also because of the rate that you were saying. It sounds quite a lot lower, but since it's tied to records, maybe it has to do with scale.
That's what I'm guessing. Yeah. So Retreat Booking Guru is what we're using.
Thanks, Herschel, for putting those links in the chat.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one because we don't use the software personally, but if somebody who does could reference which one they're using, because it sounds like it looks like it's the same company, just one maybe for finding and one maybe for internal booking, like if you were a client. But that's just my interpretation.
That would be my assumption as well. Yeah, it's the same logo in the same location.
That's so Retreat Guru does have a marketplace functionality where you can list your programs on their website, and then they take a commission off bookings that they do. So we don't use that function, but that is, so maybe that's maybe that's the difference. I don't know where, so customers instead of the, because they have two different kind of customers, I guess, the retreat centers and then also the participants. We've been very happy with Retreat Guru, I have to say, and they're responsive, and the function that we use, just like Elizabeth, you said, it is seamless on our website. It helps us with a lot of, we use it for making sure we don't overbook rooms, and we can get kitchen reports and all the detail. We can get liability waivers from there. A lot of. And it can be customized for each facilitator. We basically rent our space out to facilitators to come bring their groups, but we take the booking for them. And so sometimes facilitators have specific things they want their participants to fill out, and it's very easy. There's discount codes, donations, a lot of great features and then they have reports. So we download the reports each month for our accounting. It doesn't integrate with QuickBooks, but we download the reports and we can enter them in through QuickBooks, and it separates it out into different categories, like taxes and food and lodging and things like that. So sounds like it's good to have this. Actually, I can't believe that this came at this time, because we just got that call and then I saw this meeting come up. I'm like, oh my gosh. So it sounds like we've been getting a good deal all these years.
And
Yeah,
I'm curious about like exactly what they count for records, and if there's way to manage that as well, right? Because at a certain point, are they just, if it's holding space on their server, are you paying for that? And could you get rid of some of that and reduce the rate? This is me from an IT background, right? So my head is going. So I would ask those.
That's a good question.
Like, what are you really paying for? Are you paying for the records that are new records? Or are you paying for a bunch of old records that maybe could be deleted? And, I would just ask them exactly how they count it.
It's more on your sales. They're taking it from your sales that are running through the software. So if all of a sudden your sales bump up because you're doing really well, then your rate could potentially go up too.
and they've got like different tiers too.
Right,
so-
right.
Because then when you say that, then I'm going to start questioning, do I want to put my hosted retreat dollars in there? My sponsored retreat dollars, I'm going to have to, because I want them to automatically book, but hosted retreats, they wouldn't automatically book. So maybe I don't want to put those dollars in there. And also then you have to make sure that if you're around testing, that you don't want to leave dollars in there for some crazy amount. Okay. That's good to know. Thank you.
Well, I don't know how they actually calculate the dollars used, because you maybe could put it in without accepting. We use Stripe. So we have to pay. The Stripe comes in, is there a credit card function that comes in through Retreat Guru. And so that's how we calculate our sales, is from what we get in for the credit cards. I wonder if that's how they're calculating it too. Or how do you take payments right now? Is it through credit card through Retreat Guru?
We do credit card, but we'll also take a check and we'll take cash. So, but we record it in Retreat Booking Guru. Otherwise, you've got a balance out there.
Right. Yeah.
So I think how it was explained to me is that it's how many registrations. So we even though we're smaller, we do tons of programs. Like we have tons of people that come to our programs that are on site or virtual. So we are like cost for it, we have 2,000 registrations. That's like what our limit is. And so last year we were kind of close to that, and so that's why our price like didn't really go up that much, but it's based on registrations, how I understood. It's actually not based on your revenue or anything like that. But
Oh,
that's how I understood it.
Because they told us it was based on, they actually gave us the number of
For
CAD.
monetary or registration?
Monetary number. They didn't talk about it in terms of registrations. Interesting.
Yeah, they told us registration, but that is kind of interesting.
Just to kind of add, we use a lot of, because I think about 50 to 70% of our retreats are like rentals. So we do all of our contracts on Retreat Guru, and it's great. I mean, people electronically sign there, and that has a whole like back end like BEO setup where you can kind of create a report around for like the housekeeping or facility side of it. But we love it for, I love it for the rentals side of it. Everything else too, like the public facing, like creating programs online. We just did I did my first online program through Retreat Guru, and it worked really well. It's really awesome. Yeah.
That's so cool. I didn't know that they did electrically signing contracts, because we pay for Sign Now to do those. Maybe we could use that function. I just learned something. Thank you.
Highly recommend it. The whole like rentals tab, and I love it. I love it.
Nice.
And you can even have like, there's a form you can build where people like fill out the information, like address or whatever to put on the contract, and it can auto kind of update and stuff. It's cool.
Nice. Thank you.
That was a great spin. We got a lot of traction.
Yes.
Very helpful. So that we've been kind of dwelling in the external facing software world, and we've mentioned a little bit around donations, thank you letters, a couple other communication kind of leaning things. I'm wondering if we want to delve into that a little bit. People have mentioned Razor's Edge in the chat, eTapestry, I think someone verbalized. Do we want to talk there a little more? What else are people using?
I would love to hear, because we're at the point where we're looking at vendors for donor software CRMs, and coming off of Excel sheets for this right now. So I would love to hear what other people are using.
We're using Fundraiser for our it's a donor software program, and it has all the thank you letters and the campaigns and things like that. But we've kind of jury-rigged it to be our stewardship database. So it's our whole contact management database, and Eventbrite can export into it. So we're getting there toward integration where we have one database that has all of our people. That's the dream.
Is anybody using Donor Perfect? That's real popular kind of software.
So
Neon is another one.
We're right now doing a transition from Razor's Edge into Donor Perfect.
Okay.
One of the challenges of being kind of a multi-department type of organization is that, right, we have the summer camp CRM, we have our internal retreats that we run, we have a significant number of rentals that we do, and then we have a lot of fundraising. We have a development and alumni that we manage, right? And so there is no perfect CRM that we have found so far. I was curious, especially about coming on here, to see if there were other organizations that were doing the same. One of the biggest challenges, so what we've done is we recently merged, right? I was using a separate program and the summer camp was using a separate program. In the last few years, we've merged into one program. And the biggest the hope was that we were also going to merge our fundraising into that. And one of the biggest challenges has been, how do we transition all of that and still get kind of all of the reporting that fundraising really needs the most of everything, where a CRM isn't necessarily focused on all of the reporting and the thank yous and all of the things that you need, as much as it focuses on other things like the paperwork or the registration forms or whatever it is, the medical information. And so one of the other things that we looked at, we are just switching, and maybe if we have this conversation, I'll be able to talk to you about Donor Perfect in a little while. But I just wanted to mention something that we thought about doing that we didn't do, but if somebody else has experience with it or something to consider as you're looking into it, is that Salesforce, because it has so many different types of integrations, we did consider building a unique Salesforce build out, because they have so much specialty integrating. That was it going to be worth hiring a Salesforce consultant to build us something customized to be able to do a direct integration using like a crystal reporting system directly with our CRM. And so I don't know if anybody has done that. That was a route that we opted not to go into because we weren't committed enough to our CRM. But if you are committed enough to your CRM and you're not satisfied with your fundraising software, that might be also something that you might want to explore, depending on how much you're already spending on your fundraising, because that did seem like another worthwhile avenue to go down.
Sounds like a lot of people have the same issues. Just we have a CRM, it's Keep Infusionsoft, that just keeps all of our past retreatants. But then we use Little Green Light for the donor management and the thank you acknowledgements and all that. So it's just kind of two different systems that, don't really talk to each other, but it's different parts of the retreat house, one doing, and we've kind of cobbled together with Keep doing our bookings, and it sends out the emails, of course, and does marketing. So
I'm seeing a pattern here of some cobbling together that there's no one solution that's smooth. And personally, I'm having a lot of experience, and Erin and I are both having a lot of experience at Commonweal with Salesforce and with a lot of different kinds of programs, using it in different ways to do different things. And so we're constantly, almost constantly, working with a developer and spending money on, we need to be able to do X, Y, Z. So can definitely relate to that, even though I'm not working at a retreat center. Are other people using Salesforce and finding that a certain CRM is more integratable than another with whatever your other software choices are?
So we use Salesforce, and I've sort of taught myself Salesforce, and created a custom object that we have our programs in there, so we can and participants, so we can track people's, not just their donations, but what programs of ours they've attended. We host groups that bring they do their own retreat. We just give them the space, and then we also have our own programs that people can sign up for. So one of the things that I've found really hard, and there's no solution for this, is just I have a registration form for a program on our website, and it pulls their data into Salesforce, but then I have to check it to see if that person is already in Salesforce, because you don't want it just rewriting over information, because John Doe could be a different John Doe. And so there's that, that's just an ongoing frustration that I just wanted to voice. That your data management, you just need a full-time person to do data management, and to have a process that makes it easy. And Salesforce, I know, and I just haven't done it. I can have it run reports that would flagged potential duplicates and things like that. It's a real powerful system. It's free. We've got 10 free seats for it. We actually could use more, which surprises me because I'm like, how can we, because we're a really small organization, there aren't that many of us, but we can't afford, I mean, once you get beyond the 10 free ones, it gets expensive really, really fast. But yeah, I have sort of a love-hate relationship with Salesforce. And I've built in a lot of things into it, and it's getting better. But yeah,
So I started on this call by saying my gratitude to a registration form software, which I have not mentioned yet, but I want to because it has so many integrations and I want to wax poetic a little bit about it. It is called JotForm, if anybody is familiar with it at all. I'm obsessed with it for a couple of reasons, but I want to highlight one. So we don't use it for our internal stuff, again, because we have such a large, we're a large retreat center. We have 750 beds. We have 57 hotel rooms, 4 cottages, 18 cabin buildings that each have 40 cabin bunk beds in them. So like we're a larger facility. And so we have this like registration form software inside our CRM that we have to use for a variety of reasons that I can't stand. And it's wonky and sad, and we make jokes about our CRM all the time. However, we do a lot of, weddings and special events and things like that, where we offer a bit of a concierge service to take their registration for their wedding guests so that they can pay us for their housing and things like that. And for that, I get to use JotForm. The pleasure of using JotForm. And other times where we do other kinds of events like open houses and things like that for recruitment events. And what's incredible about it is it's this highly customizable registration software that has a variety of integrations, both widgets of different types of forms that you can use. I use it also at some of our events. For example, I run a Passover retreat that's kind of like a cruise on land, and we have excursions that we do. People can sign up for them. They can get massages, right? And so there are timetables, those kinds of they're not signing up for the retreat itself, but different types of activity forms that I need. We'll use it for that. We'll use it again for those wedding registrations, but there's integrations with Google Drive and Google Sheets. There are integrations with different types of software, CRMs. There's integrations with Salesforce, right? So there's so much customization that you can do with JotForm, and it's at a fairly affordable price annually to be able to do a variety of different forms, that it's actually worth looking into if you're happy with Retreat Guru or you're happy with your software, but there might be this type of auxiliary activity that you're looking for where you're like, I'm not really sure about this one component that I'm missing. They even have the ability to have HIPAA approved forms. So if you need to send out forms for those who are coming to retreats and you want them to sign approval forms, things like that, this might be another software tool that might be really helpful for you. So as we were talking about Salesforce and integrations and things that might help you, I just wanted to mention that. So just wanted to say JotForm has been like this one constant that they always get better, and their customer service has really been like, they just will work with you until they fix your problem. And there are so few, we have such a small team for such a large volume of work that we do, that any extra assistance makes a big difference. And so that's why they were at top of mind for that kind of gratitude, because I know how hard we all work on this call. And so those unseen people who get us through our days, I know that I feel a lot of gratitude for them. And so that's, I get no commission from JotForm for saying all of this, but I just put it out there for them.
That's great to know. Thank you.
Well, here on Eastern time, we're at 2:30, which means we have about a half hour left in this call. And so far, we spent most of our time on external facing software, a little bit of internal facing too. Do we want to talk? I imagine we do. We want to talk more about HR and payroll and accounting. And are some of those different from the platforms we've already talked about? If there's more that needs to be discussed there, I want to make sure that we have time for it.
That's all handled by our business office, so it's a whole separate group of people, different thing for me.
Yep. Appreciating the comments in the chat here.
Yeah, we use QuickBooks for the accounting, and then we use Paychecks for payroll.
Anybody use an alternative to QuickBooks or want to give a star review? Okay, good. Other kind of questions of the moment, something that's been teased by what we've talked about so far, but we didn't spend much time on it that you want to return us to?
So I just had a quick question. I know it was in the survey, and I think I'm the only one who voted for it. Does anyone use anything besides like something like Retreat Guru for facilities maintenance, facilities management or facilities maintenance or any kind of tracking, or are we still just kind of using like Excel sheets for that?
Do you mean like having the rooms cleaned and things like that, or when something breaks and you have to fix it?
So we use Retreat Guru for like housekeeping purposes, but like keeping track of, change the filters in the conference building and things like that, or keeping track of things needing to be fixed that are broken. We just use Excel right now. I just wasn't sure if anyone had found anything else that was a little bit easier to use. I mean, Excel works, but I wasn't sure if there's anything else that people have found that works.
We actually have a software here that we just launched this late winter that does that for our facilities guy. But Andy, do you remember what that was called? And it's a software, he plugs everything into it. It sends you reminder messages. I just don't know. It's out there and I'll have to find out what it's called.
Yeah, I can't remember either.
Yeah, it's pretty slick.
So we use Maintenance Care. There's a free version, but we this year invested in it and we're finding it's fabulous. So for instance, right now we have 5 on our grounds crew. And so it means our facility manager can assign tasks to those staff. So they can see them on their phone, they can check them off when they're done, and it's tracking all of that. It's also helping us to track the cost per square foot of each of our facilities and all of that. So we're finding it absolutely is helpful as we grow and there are more staff. I mean, we're not using it to track housekeeping and things that's in our booking software, but all of the actual facility maintenance and management, that's all being tracked there, and we quite like it.
Okay, thank you. I'll have to look it up. Thank you for that.
I'm sorry, Christine,
I'm
can you
sorry,
say the
what
name
was
of
the
that
name
again?
of that?
Maintenance Care.
Christine, do you know about what you pay for that? Is it monthly or yearly? Any idea?
It is a monthly fee. It's not inexpensive. And like I said, there is a free version. Like you can try their free version. We did that for a year, and then we found it was worth the investment. It's a couple $100 a month in Canada.
I don't want to move us off topic if there's other pearls that are about to trickle out here. I know we had a few people who were interested in talking about groundskeeping tools and hardware like AV and cameras and computers and that kind of stuff. I'll also take this opportunity to remind you that Erin is taking copious notes of this conversation, and we will record the chat, and we will publish a blog post that talks about all of our commentary and why these tools work or don't work. And I've also gotten an idea here from Nancy around maybe charting these like in a graph of these are the features and these are the platforms and this is which one does what. So if we have enough data to be able to do that, I think that's a sweet opportunity. So we'll see. We'll see if we can pull that off. But just so you know, these recommendations aren't going to float away, and hopefully it'll be something that we can all refer back to and have the same conversation again next year and see if some platforms have improved or prices have improved. Questions about hardware? Do we want to start there for a little bit? Curious who was interested in talking about that and if you have a specific question for the group. Okay, we can let that simmer. Maybe groundskeeping. The retreat centers where I worked very briefly, there was always a new hassle with an invasive species or a bug or a mouse or a who knows what. And I'm sure you're all facing that. So I was curious if there was going to be a conversation around eco-friendly responses to those kinds of challenges. And sometimes that's almost impossible and it just goes on forever. So if there's things that need to be discussed there, we definitely have a few minutes to go that direction.
Well, I feel you on that one. We, live in the mountains and it's summer and we're experiencing, copperheads and yellow jackets and all these and weeds, and we don't use chemicals here on the property. So we're a little bit wild and woolly. And we have bears and, things that scare people sometimes. So we have to just basically educate people on keeping their eye out for stuff. And my husband has spent a lot of time figuring out how to get rid of yellow jacket nests without putting a bunch of chemicals everywhere. But I hear you on that. Our biggest thing with groundskeeping is finding enough enough people to come help us. I don't know if you guys are experiencing the same thing, but it seems like the job market is just really difficult right now and having help. So that's my 2 cents about groundskeeping.
We we have common buckthorn here. I'm in a rural, we have 250 acres, and this land was bequeathed from John Bain McLean in 1950. And it turns out that he was the one who brought the buckthorn into the neighborhood. And so we sort of have a reputation among the other farmers. It's really hard to get rid of, and it's almost impossible to get rid of without chemicals, and we don't use chemicals either. So we actually, during COVID, introduced a small flock of sheep. We have Soay sheep who love buckthorn more than anything in the whole world. And so we've been doing that, and we've grown from 3, we now have about 25 of them. The hard part is that then they do, like, if you talk about staff, like, we herd them out in the morning and we herd them back to the barn at the end of the day, because we do have coyotes and other predators. So I mean, the hard thing about that too is then you're managing rams. I do have some injuries from rams, because even though the rams are only 100 pounds in this breed, they're just being friendly. Like, they're not trying to be aggressive. They actually are talking to you with their head. But we have found that is really popular. Like, the tackling an invasive species with something that is environmentally friendly and cute and interesting has been great. Like, I just had a group of scientists, they were at a local convention, it was a Christian Scientist thing, and they actually came out here on a field trip just to see what we were doing and how we were doing it, and to hear, I mean, because it takes more, it's not as simple as just set them out there for a week and then everything disappears. It actually, it does take a number of years to, and we do have to follow in with a tractor pulling stumps and things, but it's been great. Like, having a really different and unusual way of tackling an invasive species has had some other offshoots of things that have been good, and it has really helped in terms of drawing staff, because our summer staff, we've had students the last few years and they keep wanting to come back because it's fun. They don't just cut the grass or do regular maintenance stuff, they also get to hang with the animals, so that's fun, and it's been good.
I took a retreat this summer at a retreat center here in Michigan that also had a flock of sheep that was also managing part of the hillside. And it was a very different kind of experience to hear their sounds and to run into them on the trail. And yeah, it was wonderful. And apparently fairly effective at getting part of the job done of removing the invasives. I might put us into kind of wild card territory here for a second and grab bag. There's a question you've wanted to ask 15 other retreat center leaders on a call, and you have been waiting for your moment. Put it out there for a wild card for a minute, and then I'll give a little bit of an overview of our RCC work for some folks who are new on the call, and just let you know where we are as we come back into community calls for the rest of the year. We've got a whole schedule lined up. But first, wild card questions. Yeah, Nancy.
I'd love to know how other retreat centers deal with the upstairs, downstairs power dynamic, whether that's living wage or, yeah, just, I know this is more of an HR issue, and we actually did discuss it when there was an HR call, but I'm curious, and I think it picks up the point about having a hard time hiring caretakers as well for us as hospitality kitchen staff.
Could you elaborate on what you mean by upstairs, downstairs? I don't understand the reference.
Oh, just that, those who are working on office programming upstairs, who tend to have more stable salary, higher paying rates. There's an upstairs, downstairs dynamic with our seasonal full-time. We're a small center. We have about 65 beds at our max. So we have casual full-time staff that are laid off in the off season and then rehired come kind of spring and summer, fall. So I just wondered how different retreat centers, and we try to give all of our full-time staff a living wage.
I'm also in Canada, so I don't know if is the living wage employer certification, if it's something Canadian, if Americans do that. We're a certified living wage employer. So in Guelph, which is our closest city, that means $19.95 an hour. And that's so our student dishwashers, everybody, that's the starting rate. So we actually have core staff. Ours aren't seasonal, we're open all year, but we only have 100 beds. We're not very big either, but we call it core staff. And I'm working on a circular model rather than a hierarchical sort of way of thinking about that. And we've done a couple of things. One of them is we've gone to 4 weeks holidays. So as soon as everybody starts, you get 4 weeks. If you're a part-time, your holiday pay is 8% to sort of stay even with that. And I'm working really hard to make sure, I mean, I'm functioning from the Presbyterian Church in Canada, so churches are not known for paying well. My denomination is not known for paying well, but we're trying to stay current with the market. And so our core people are all making what they really deserve according to their education and their experience and all that kind of thing. But we're trying to keep pace even with the other part-time people, so that they, even if they're only half-time, that they're still that's still in the same ballpark. So we're working at it, but it's really expensive. So we're really public about it though, and we're finding that people are supportive when we say we're a living wage employer. We say we provide all these holidays. We have a health and dental pension, all that stuff. And we do find that donors and guests really support that. They want that.
I could also share a little bit about that. I'm in Connecticut, and our retreat center has 90 beds, so we're pretty small as well. And a few things that we've done to work on that particular issue are how we have our organizational chart set up. So in so many organizations, it's still very hierarchical. And so what we did was we set ours up as a network. So we're just a network where there's different hubs for information and different levels of responsibility. But not, not such a hierarchical structure that it interferes with things and people getting that us and them mentality, right? The other thing that was helpful was we had the luxury of being able to move around offices space a little bit. And so sometimes even the physical environment contributes to the hierarchy, right? That like literally there's those people that work upstairs in the office, and then there's us that are like lower than them. Physically, we work lower than them. So thinking about how you might be able to integrate people on different levels of the building might help. And then another thing that we did was cross-training, so that anyone who is what we call full-time, you might call core employee, because we're open year-round, but anyone who is a full-time employee, we expect them to be able to know how to do other people's jobs, because we're such a small team, right? You need that cross-training for people to help out when it's needed. But something that came out of that was a little unexpected was a more mutual respect and more empathy for one another. Because if you've got somebody who normally sits at a computer, doing orders all day or something like that, and you have them spend some time training in the kitchen, they suddenly have a very different understanding. Plus they get to know the people in there a little better, and the people get to know them. And also asking some of the part-time or hourly staff, are there things that you would like to learn here? You know, is there something you'd like to learn that might be kind of behind the scenes for you, or you're wondering how that relates to your job? And even having a housekeeper spend an hour with your coordinator learning how they make the rooming list, right? How they work that. Suddenly the light bulbs start going off that this isn't just some random thing they throw at us and it messes us up or whatever, So things, any kind of cross training, I think it just breaks down barriers. And like on our team, even all of our salaried managers are expected to be cross-trained, to know what to do in different departments. And so, if we see the line, getting backed up at the buffet, our managers will put on an apron and go over and just start helping out. Like just be present and be accessible, even if it's for 10 minutes a day that you're out of your office and you're with people they see that you're caring. And then the living wage for us, it has to apply to everyone. It's not just, well, you're full-time, so you need a living wage. Well, part-time people also, maybe they only need 15 hours a week, but they need it at a wage that is competitive, and if they've got any type of experience, and maturity, they should not be making, like in Connecticut, our minimum wage is $15 an hour. So, I don't mind if it's a, young person from high school who's never had a job. I probably start them at $15.50, but say a housekeeper that comes to us with excellent experience, we don't start them at $15.50 an hour because it's kind of insulting to them. And even if they only need 15 hours a week, they usually don't need it at the minimum wage. They need more of the living wage. And then I would say the last thing for us was just about communicating, making sure that there's opportunity for people wherever they're working to communicate with anyone who's making decisions that affect their job, so we get input from all team members when we're making the budget, not just managers, not just, the board of directors, let's make this budget, but really talking to the people who are going to have to comply with that budget, right? Not ordering too many supplies or whatever it might be. So those are the things we've done to break down that, kind of that, I don't know exactly what you call it, but you said upstairs, downstairs, I could relate to that. So thank you.
Thank you both. So helpful.
Yeah, great to hear it articulated in detail like that, Sarah-Lynn. Thank you for your answer. Helpful. I might just kind of close us out with some remarks about RCC, some gratitude for this community and this kind of space and how these conversations take shape, how we learn from each other and share what we know. It's amazing to watch. I got a question in the chat about what is RCC up to and kind of just a little overview of where we are right now. I can share that RCC has been busy this summer wrapping up one study and getting ready to start our community survey, which just you got an email today. So we just finished up a sustainability study for business models for retreat centers. Retreat centers, as we know, are so different. Each one is so unique. But this study studied 8 very different retreat centers and came up with some interesting data. And so that toolkit has been published. It's on our website. It's under Resources, Sustainability Toolkit on the website. So we just wrapped that up and put that out. We'll be talking about that more later this year in a community call in October. And then we just launched our community survey. We're looking forward to an annual retreat for the whole RCC community happening in Ontario in October as well. And I'm actually looking forward to a gathering of Midwest retreat centers next week in Indiana, hosted by Lindenwood. So I'm excited to do a little traveling, spend some time at a retreat center with my coworker and with a bunch of retreat center leaders, kind of shooting the breeze and learning about what their concerns are and kind of having the same sort of conversation that we're having here. What can we learn from each other? As we approach the end of the year, we're also considering what is the future of RCC in terms of programs. RHI is now 2.5 years old. That's our racial healing initiative. We're working with individual retreat centers to support their racial equity journeys. So we have a whole team of folks that are doing that. You can learn more about that on the website. We also have had some education around land legacies. What does it mean that retreat centers are land-based organizations? And I have a conversation coming up with a funder around where can that go? What's the next step for that kind of conversation? And I think we're learning as a community that that kind of healing of land and our relationship to land is very connected to our healing of relationship to each other, to people, to our stories, to our culture. So racial healing and land healing, big part of what we'll be talking about at the retreat in October in Canada as well. So that's kind of a super quick overview. Community calls and collaboration hubs and affinity groups are sort of the main thing we do, just various containers to get people together to have conversations and learn from each other. Some of them are more focused on an aspect of your center's identity. Some of them are more focused on something that will apply to the whole community at large. And it's a very diverse community, a lot of different kinds of centers. We work across geographic regions, religious identities, lots of different budget sizes, as you heard today. So it's exciting to continue to learn from each other. And some of us have innovated in ways that others can't afford to, and we get to learn from that. So if you haven't already, take a look at the community survey link that's in the chat. And we'll look forward to talking with you at our next community call, which Erin helped to organize. Erin, actually, do you want to say just a little snippet about that call?
Yeah, the call is going to be about models for balancing hospitality, work, and life. So if you're working and living at your retreat center, we want to help you find ways to balance that, be able to feel like you're an individual person as well as part of this community that's so important to you. So really important topic for all of us to find those boundaries and get support where we need it. So looking forward to that conversation quite a bit.
Yeah, we've got a good panel of speakers for that one. So that one will be organized a little differently. We'll hear from several different perspectives. But look forward to seeing you then. Thank you for being here. Toodles, take care.